Pride of Higara. This is Captain Soban of the fleet, Farron Shah. Looks like you could use a hand. Attention all Sobani, pick your targets and engage.
Hello everyone, excuse me. Hello everyone, this is Captain Soban. Welcome aboard the Starship and Normal Prize for another episode of Homeworld, the Tactical Fleet Simulator. Yep, that's the name of this mod. So today we are taking a look at the Vaygr fighters. We're going to take a look at all of them, see what their strengths and weaknesses are, and kind of just discuss about them. So, without further ado, one thing I did notice that for some reason the scouts, they like always think they're together, so you can't really focus on one ship. It focuses on the group, which is kind of weird. For like the interceptors, I can do, I think like this around this guy. Oh, nope, now it's doing it for the interceptors too. Weird. Anyways, for some reason it's really difficult to just focus on one ship. There we go. Now it's working again. So, whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and start getting into the video. So, first up on our list is the Reconnaissance Fighter, aka the Scout. So, let's read about it. Unit role, Tactical Reconnaissance. Subclass, Light Fighter. Engagement, or tech level, none. You get this, you literally don't need anything to build a Scout. Engagement range, short. Prerequisites, none. Comes with one KAC 25 RF, which is a 25mm autocannon at 1.6 kilometer range. And also has one EMP bomb launcher at 2.3 kilometer range. And it has a sensor radius of 10 kilometers, which would be about this much. I think that's about 10 kilometers.
Ready.
Where is here? Yeah, close enough. Anyways, they're strong versus probes because they're fast-moving ships with a single weapon up here in front. Not really designed for dogfighting. Weak versus fighters, corvettes, frigates, capital ships. Pretty much anything else that isn't a standing target with very little armor. Description. Light fighter squadron equipped with powerful passive sensors and EMP bomb launchers capable of disabling opposing ships for short durations. Ooh, good to know. It is used as an advanced scout to detect and disable hostile fighters and corvettes before they arrive before the arrival of the main force. So interesting, they're kind of used as suicide units to try to slow down the enemy's advance so the Vaygr can prepare their main fleet to hammer down the enemy. Interesting. I never really think of scouts too much as fighters. In the original Homeworld, I always think of scouts as just really cheap scouts. Really cheap units that have like no armor and no attack, and you can just send them out to do some exploring. So that's kind of how they're used for this one, but it is interesting that they use it as like a suicide unit for the main fleet. So, interesting description. Also, the wind is really blowing right now, so hopefully you guys won't hear any of that on the mic, and hopefully we don't lose power in the middle of this recording, because that would be kind of bad. Anyways, let's move on to our next unit, which is the Assaultcraft FF-11G or FF-11G. Let's check them out. Unit role, Interceptor, Anti-Fighter, Anti-Bomber. Subclass, Light Fighter. Tech level, Mark 1, Anti-Fighter, Fighter. Engagement range, short. Prerequisites, Fighter Facility. Armament, 1 KAC 35 RF, which is a 35mm flat-jet autocannon, which is a little bit bigger than the Reconnaissance autocannon. And comes with one SRM-9 missile bod, which has a 3 kilometer range. So it's strong versus fighters and bombers. Mediocre, which means it's okay against heavily armed fighters. Probably in a large group you can take those down, but with a head-to-head group, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to lose that. And weak versus corvettes, frigates, and capital ships because it doesn't have the firepower to take down those ship classes. Description. Light fighter squadron optimized for engaging other fighters. Features high speed and agility at the expense of low armor and short-range weapons that are only effective against small targets. So yeah, these are your main anti-fighter dogfighter, designed to fight other fighters. Nothing really crazy about them, nothing really special about them. So yeah, that's these guys. And then we have the Lance Fighter, which is also in all of these so far have been in the main game. They're not really like new units in the mod. They're just like rebalanced versions of the old ones. So we have the Lance Fighter right here, which is basically a fighter with a big lance in front of it. Read about it. Lance Fighter, FC-11B, unit role, anti-Corvette. Subclass, light fighter. Tech level, Mark 1 anti-Corvette fighter, so this is your main fighter to go up against other Corvettes. Engagement range, short. Prerequisites, fighter facility, and PL300RF technology research. So it comes with one PL300RF plasma lance emitter, which is a 300 megawatt plasma lance. About as much as the pulse lasers on the Agarans, so nothing too major with that. And of course, it's mediocre versus frigates. Okay, so these, if you have these guys in a large group, you might be able to take down a like an ion cannon frigate or a marine frigate, something that's not really designed to fight fighters. If you go up against like an assault frigate or a flak frigate, these guys are going to die because those are designed to kill fighters. Anyways, they're also weak against Corvettes. Hey, hang on, I'm reading the wrong one. They're strong versus Corvettes and platforms. That makes sense. Platforms actually don't have a whole lot of health, so a large group of lance fighters could probably take them out. Mediocre versus frigates, and weak versus fighters and capital ships. As the pulse or the lance laser isn't really designed to fight fighters, so fighters can tear these guys apart, and they don't do enough damage to really handle capital ships, so the capital ships can kill them pretty easily. Description: light fighter squadron equipped with a light or single plasma lance emitter for intercepting Corvettes. Lacks agility and speed, making it suitable for fighters and hull defense weapons, which is why it's weak against capital ships and fighters. Effective at engaging targets larger than itself, up to frigate-class ships. So it has the firepower to take down large ships, but it doesn't have the hull or the speed to outmaneuver fighters or capital ships. So good to know. Mainly just Corvette and frigates for this guy. Next we have the Assault Fighter, which I believe is part of the mod that wasn't in Homeworld 2 that I am aware of.
Acknowledged.
That's this guy over here, which I love the armament of this ship. Has the rocket launchers on the side, and then the big probably torpedo launcher or something on the bottom, with the other like maybe a laser here in the middle. Really, really cool design. Anyways, Assault Fighter FF-12A, unit role Space Superiority, Anti-Fighter. So this is the upgraded version of the Assault Craft then. Okay. So tech level Mark II Anti-Fighter fighter, engagement range short, prerequisites fighter facility, advanced fighter tech. Armament 1 PLC-75 RF laser cannon, so that's a 75 millimeter. Actually, that's a 75 megawatt because that's a laser cannon. So it's a very weak laser cannon, but it's probably really, really good at targeting. And it comes with 4 MRM-8 launchers, which I believe the 8 stands for kilotons of TNT, which is the explosive power of the rockets. So nothing really powerful, but very effective against small ships. So strong versus fighters and attack Corvettes. Okay. And mediocre versus normal Corvettes. So it's strong versus Corvettes that are designed for offensive warfare, so like anti-Corvette Corvettes. Not really designed for like other Corvettes. And then weak versus anti-fighter Corvettes, frigates, and capital ships. So it can win the Corvette role depending on what the enemy's Corvette is. So I think I kind of read this wrong. So it's strong versus attack Corvettes, which I think are like anti-capital ship Corvettes, like plasma Corvettes or torpedo Corvettes, stuff like that. And it's mediocre versus normal Corvettes. It's weak versus anti-fighter specific Corvettes, so like gunships or the Vaygr equivalent of a gunship. Okay, good to know. Good to know. And then, of course, it's weak versus frigates and capital ships because it doesn't have the firepower to take those type down. Description: heavy fighter squadron armed with advanced pulse laser cannon and medium-range missile systems optimized for engaging other fighters. The assault fighter is much more capable than the assault craft, featuring good agility, a strong armament, and mediocre armor. So it's basically a straight-up upgrade from the assault fighter. And let's see, it costs 125 more RUs, and you get the same amount of units. Oh yeah, definitely a lot better than the assault craft. Okay, and next one up we have the second version of the assault fighter, the FC-12B, which I believe is the upgraded version of the Lance fighter, the anti-Corvette fighter. Here we are.
Confirmed.
Which, I like how it's just one big missile thing on the side. That's cool. And then it has the laser in the middle like the normal fighter. So it just has a different... Ooh, it also has that guy there too. So it looks like it just has a different laser armament. Read about it. Assault Fighter, Space Superiority Anti-Corvette. Subclass, Heavy Fighter. So tech level, Mark II Anti-Corvette Fighter. Engagement range short. Prerequisites, Fighter Facility, Advanced Fighter Tech, and LRCM 35 Tech. Armament, 1 PLC 75 RF laser cannon, which is this guy in the middle. That's the 75 megawatt laser cannon. And then 1 PL 300 lance emitter. So that's, I believe that's this guy right here. That's a 300 megawatt lance beam, assuming that's what that's supposed to be. And then 1 LRCM 35 launcher, which is a 35 kiloton missile launcher, much more powerful than the ones that the other fighters have. And this makes it strong versus corvettes and bombers, probably because it has the speed and maneuverability to keep up with other fighters, and they can use this laser cannon to take those guys down. That would be my guess. Mediocre versus frigates, fighters, and platforms. That makes sense. It's more armed to take out corvettes, not really to take out other fighters. And it's okay against frigates because, again, that doesn't have the firepower to really take them down, but it can go against them if it has to. But good against platforms because it does enough damage to take out the platforms unless it's an anti-corvette platform. And weak versus anti-fighter frigates. Makes sense. You won't be using this up against assault frigates or flak frigates. It'll destroy them. And capital ships because it doesn't do the damage to really take those out before the capital ships take them out. Cool. And then the description. Heavy fighter squadron outfitted with a long-range cluster missile launcher optimized for intercepting Corvette squadrons from a distance alongside short-range plasma lance emitters. Features a mediocre armor, mediocre agility, and low max speed and acceleration. So it is very slow for a fighter class. Definitely have to make sure you use this against its specialization, otherwise it's not gonna last that long. Okay. Next up, we have the heavy fighters. Starting to get into the big boys now. I think are all up here. Yes, they are. This thing actually everything went in order for once, so it's kind of nice. Let's take a look at it. Looks like we have a laser emitter here, another laser emitter here, some sort of rocket launcher here in the middle, and some missile launchers. Wow, this thing's decked out. This is a deadly fighter. Oh, indeed. So let's check it out. Heavy Fighter, FFA-13C, unit role, multi-role fighter. Okay. So it doesn't have a specialization. It's like a paladin. It can do anything. Subclass, Heavy Fighter. Tech level, not available. Because I think it's the only one in its class. Engagement range short. Prerequisites, Fighter Facility, Advanced Fighters Tech, and Heavy Armor Blading. Lots of stuff it needs. Also, I don't have the stats down here, so you guys can see it. No! There we go. Armament comes with 2 KAC-90, which is 90mm, flagship cannon, which is anti-fighter cannons. I believe it has 2 of them, right? I wonder if it's this thing here in the middle. Possible it might be that. And then one KAC 35 RF 35 millimeter kinetic autocannon. That might be the one that's actually in the middle. Interesting. And then two SRM 30, which is at 30 kilotons of TNT missile launchers, which are these guys here. Oh, I see them now. Okay, okay. So I think the two KAC 90 cannons are these two right here, right next to the lasers. And then the KAC 35 RF kinetic autocannons is this thing in the middle. This thing has a lot of firepower for a fighter class ship. Kind of crazy. Anyways, next is our attack fighter, the FA-14. Which is... nope, that's not it. This guy right here.
Reporting.
So the attack fighter, let's see, it has a big missile here, has a weapon here. I don't really see anything else that it really has. Got this thing here. Really interesting. Anyways, let's read about it. So, attack fighter, FA-14. Unit role, anti-frigate. So this is the anti-frigate fighter. Okay. Subclass, tactical bomber. Technology level, NA. Engagement range short. Prerequisites, fighter facility, PL-300 tech, and MLC-750 tech. Armament comes with one PLC-750 pulse laser cannon. That's 750 megawatt pulse laser, which has to be this thing right here. And then it comes with one SRM-30, which is a 30 kilotons of TNT missile launcher, which is this big boy right here. And it's strong versus frigates, platforms, carriers, and destroyers. Wow, so it has quite a bit of firepower for an anti-frigate class. Mediocre versus corvettes and cruisers when the cruisers are upgraded, and when they have more anti-corvette capability. Okay. It makes sense. Its weapons really aren't designed to fight other corvettes. It can if it has to, but it's not really designed for it. Then weak versus fighters and anti-fighter corvettes. But strong versus every type of frigate. Good to know. Although I still wouldn't use these against, like, you know, flak frigates or assault frigates. Just because those are designed to kill fighters, and I prefer survivability over destroying the enemy. So if there's a matchup like that, I always keep my guys behind and then try to use a different tactic to take out that ship. Description: attack fighter squadron armed with a medium pulse laser cannon with a high muzzle velocity and moderate rate of fire, making for a very accurate anti-frigate weapon. Okay? Maybe I would use these guys against it, but I don't know. That fights my instincts. The medium discharge output is only moderately effective against capital ship armor. The attack fighter is much more effective at destroying frigates than the FB-15, which is the next one we're going to see. Okay. Good to know. So this guy's primary objective is to kill frigate-class ships. It's pretty good at killing platforms, too, and carriers and destroyers, especially if it's not a anti-fighter destroyer, which I'm thinking of a different mod, so I don't think we have that in this mod. Cool. Cool. Alright, so next up is our tactical bomber, which is pretty much our main bomber that we'll be using in the game, which are these guys over here.
Confirmed.
Let's check them out. Oh, nice. We got two really large missile bays. What else do we have on this thing? Might be it. I think we have like a little bit of a cannon up there in front. This thing kind of looks like a 737. For some reason this front is reminding me of a 737. And how like big and bulky it is. Pretty cool. Anyways, let's read about it. So tactical bomber FB-15, unit role, anti-capital ship. Secondary role, anti-subsystem. Subclass, tactical bomber. Tech level, Mark 1 anti-capital ship bomber. Engagement range short. Prerequisites, fighter facility, PBL 675 tech. So it comes with 2 PBL 675 plasma bomb launchers. That's 675 megawatts of energy going towards the enemy in these little plasma bombs. It can be upgraded to have PBL 975 or 975 megawatts of power. And that one is... it's actually a different technology because this is a pulse laser cannon where this is a plasma bomb launcher. Interesting. The power-wise, it's a little bit weaker unless it's upgraded. But I'm assuming since these are plasma bomb launchers, they're much slower, so they're easier to avoid from other ships. So like frigates can outmaneuver it, corvettes and fighters can obviously outmaneuver it, but large capital ships will have trouble doing that since they're so large. Anyways, strong versus capital ships and subsystems. Much as primary focus. Mediocre versus frigates and platforms. Again, it's good. It's okay against frigates, but you have to time it really well. If the frigate is moving, you don't really want to use these guys because they'll be able to outmaneuver the plasma bombs, and it'll just be a waste of a shot, and they'll just get shot down by their assault frigates or whatever. And then platforms, kind of the same thing because these ships are kind of slow. So the platforms will be able to kill them before they get too close to them, especially if it's like gun platforms or something. So the best use scenario the best use scenario for these guys is definitely use them against like destroyers and carriers, even battle cruisers. That's kind of what they specialize against. And they're weak versus fighters and corvettes because they have no way to defend those type of ships. So, description. Tactical bomber squadron armed with electromagnetic plasma projectors capable of breaching subsystems and cruiser-class armor. Because of their low muzzle velocity, plasma bombs are not very accurate against frigates. Yep, because the frigates can outmaneuver them because of their small size and their fast speed. But they are accurate enough to target subsystem modules on capital ships. So, yep, that's what I use them for. Anyways, our next one is the Interdiction Bomber. And Tactical Bomber, I believe, is what the original bomber was. That's what they renamed and reused it for this one. And then a Tactical Bomber, or the Interdiction Bomber, is the upgraded version of these guys.
Ready.
Instead of having... Wow, these guys look really interesting. You have 4 missiles. This weird antenna thing that kind of looks like a bug's claw. Kind of cool. And has this big rocket launcher down here at the bottom. Okay, let's read about these guys. Interdiction Bomber, FB-11E. Unit role, standoff range suppression of capital ships. Okay. Interesting role. Subclass Tactical Bomber. Tech level Mark II anti-capital ship bomber, engagement range long. Prerequisites, fighter facility, PBL 675 tech, and improved PBL 675. This comes with 4 LRAM 30 launchers, which I believe are 30 kilotons of TNT. That is 120 kilotons of TNT if all those hit at the same time. They can be upgraded to LRCM5 launchers with a little bit shorter range. I'm not exactly sure what the CM5 would stand for. I don't think it would be 5 kilotons of TNT because that sounds like a really... Wait, no, never mind. That's an upgrade, which means it gets added onto the ship, I believe. Might be this the guy back here because I think the 4 missile launchers are over here. Interesting. That's a very small... It's a CM missile instead of a AM missile. I'm not too sure what the difference is between those two are. Anyways, they're strong versus frigates, carriers, destroyers, and platforms because they are pretty fast, and since these are strategic bombers, they stay far away from the battle and kind of just hammer the enemy from afar. So as long as they don't have any like missile defense platforms or any type of missile defense system built in, these guys can kind of just hammer away at the enemy from range. They're basically one of your like artillery units. Let's see, that's also mediocre versus cruisers and battleships because it can target them, but it doesn't quite have the punch to really do the damage against those type of ships. but it can harass them if they don't have any sort of missile defense. And of course, they're weak against fighters and corvettes because they're bombers. They're not designed to fight fighters and corvettes. Description: bomber squadron equipped with long-range, high-velocity missiles. Never mind, they're fast-moving missiles, so these guys would be kind of deadly. Suitable for suppressing frigates. Okay. That's why it's good against frigates. Resource operations, defense platforms, and capital ships from standoff ranges. Interdiction Bomber will encircle its target in an attempt to remain outside enemy hull defenses during the engagement. Best used in conjunction with FFR or CTR units. Good to know. Guess we'll figure out what those are later. Cool. I believe the Higarans had a strategic bomber, which we're actually going to learn about here, apparently. I don't think the Higarans had a interdiction bomber, but they did have the tactical and strategical bomber, which is very interesting because this is basically your answer to any type of capital ship that comes in that could kill you. And there's a couple ships in the game that are answers to these. Like on the Higaran side, you can build the defense field frigate, and it has a built-in defense turret that can be used to shoot down the missiles that these guys shoot to make them kind of less effective. So yeah, that's one of those things this mod adds that kind of adds another layer of complexity, but it's not so cheesy to where you can abuse it because there's ways to go around it. And I believe you're limited to how many of these bombers you can build to prevent you from just building 20 of these bombers and annoying the enemy to death. So yeah, but I do like how the strategic bombers and interdiction bombers kind of work in this mod. Adds a little bit of flair to the game. But last but not least, let's talk about the strategic bomber.
Standing by.
First, take a look at it. See what kind of arsenal we have. Got this big thing. Don't really see anything. Let's see, there's like something here and something here. I don't really see like any type of like large missiles, so I'm kind of curious what this thing's used for. So, strategic bomber, FB-11C. Unit role, anti-capital ship. Subclass, strategic bomber. Tech level, Mark III anti-capital ship bomber. Engagement range, medium. Prerequisites, fighter facility, PBL 675 tech, advanced fighter tech, ASM 50 launcher tech. Lots and lots of research needed to unlock this guy. So armament comes with 2 PBL 400 launchers, which is 400 megawatts of plasma bomb launchers. I believe that's what PB stands for. So that might be... to get a better look at this. Figure out where these launchers actually are. It might be these two on the side. Probably what it is. And then 2 PLC 115 self-defense cannons. The built-in turret defense system to protect itself from incoming fire. Very, very interesting.
Acknowledged.
Nope, that's not what I wanted. And then it also has one ASM 50, which is a 50 kiloton fusion missile launcher, which I believe is this big boy right here. I think this houses the fusion missile and launches it whenever you need it to. And it can also be upgraded to have a ASM 5070, that should be like ASM 75, 75 kiloton fusion missile launcher. So one really, really big missile. I think the Higarans took the opposite approach where they had like 4 like mediocre missiles, and so I think this one just goes slower and does a lot more damage, where the other ones go faster and there's more of them and does less damage. Very interesting. Strong versus capital ships, obviously. It's a long-range strategic bomber. Mediocre versus frigates because the missile is a little bit slower. So frigates can outmaneuver it or take it down a little bit better. And weak versus fighters and corvettes because, again, it's a bomber class. It doesn't have any defenses against fighters and corvettes. Yep. There we go. Description: bomber squadron armed with fusion missiles for eliminating heavy capital ships. Flight vectors should be assigned before deployment to keep its flight path outside hostile sensor range during the ingress. Multiple squadrons should be used to simultaneously attack a single capital ship. That's so cool. So like the best way to actually use this guy is to move them, like let's say there's a capital ship right here. We can move these guys in, tell them to attack, and then bring them back, and then move the second guy in, tell it to attack, and bring it back. So these guys do require a little bit of micromanagement, but they can be used really, really effectively if you plan everything out properly. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it. That is every single fighter that you can build on the Vaygr side in the Homeworld Fleet Tactical Simulator mod. So next we'll be taking a look at the Corvette class ships and discussing them a little bit more. That one might be a little bit shorter video because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of them. Frigates looks like there's a decent amount, and capital ships would be long too because I'm basically using the same formula as I did with the Vaygrians. That way the series are kind of synced on the amount of episodes each one has, so they don't get confusing in the future. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did. If you like what I do, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, this is Captain Soban signing out.
The Vaygr have arrived. Emergency hyperspace procedures initiated. The mothership must survive.